All right, everybody, so we're going to be walking through the process of how to give an online exam. So the first step would be come to mynate.org, and you can get there by typing in that URL directly, mynate.org, or from the natex.org website. There will be a mynate link in the upper right-hand corner. So when you arrive at the mynate.org, you'd want to log in using your mynate username and password, and this is different than your your Proctor ID number, Nate ID number, anything like that. You can use one of these links over here to create a mynate login if you have not done that already. The mynate system was launched April of 2012, so I would imagine most of you have probably created that mynate login by now. So once you've logged in with your mynate login, you're going to see the different tabs of roles that you have. As I'm an employee here at Nate, I have all of the different roles possible. Chances are you'll have testing organization, proctor, maybe technician. For online exams, you will have to go to the Proctor tab. The online testing, because it's associated with a single proctor's record, is not available under the testing organization tab. From under the testing organization tab, you'd only be able to see the online exams your testing organization's given, not create a new one. So first we'll want to go to here, Proctor tab, and then you'll have your different proctor choices here. So if you wanted to give a paper exam, you'd click here to Paper Exam Orders, and then Create New Order, and that's going to walk you through the process of ordering a paper exam. For online testing, you'll want to go to this online testing link here, which is going to pull up a table of all your previous online exams, which will be displayed here, and their current statuses. So the first step here would be to create a new online session. And that's going to give you this screen here. Everything in this light gray box can be ignored for now. That is information that's auto-populated, not information that you have to fill out yourself. So you want to come down here to test session information and put in, all of these fields need to be filled out with the exception of the PO number. I'm just going to go ahead and fill out a testing session for today. And now the location information, that's going to be where you're holding the exam, and the contact information is who you want Nate to contact if there's a problem with this exam. At this point, you do not need to fill out any of the candidate information. This is just general information about the test session. So once you have all these fields filled out, you'll want to click Create, and that's going to give you this 4-digit online code here and its current status. Now at this point, all information here can still be changed. So if you've created a test session and you decide you need to postpone it to tomorrow, you want to change the time on it, you need to change where it's being held, all of that can still be edited. However, once you know that this information is locked in, you're ready for the test session to start, just come up here and click Activate. It'll let you know that all this information is going to be locked. You click OK, and then the status is going to switch from new to active. So once the status has been switched to active, this online code can now be used. And at this point, you're ready for candidates to come in to test. So if you're going to be giving the exam on the same computer that you created the session on, as the proctor, you'll have to log out first. Otherwise, the system's going to view you as the candidate in the system, and it's not going to let you proctor your own exam. So I'm going to come up here and log out of my proctor record. So when the candidates come to test, they'll want to come to this exact same website, either mynate.org or natex.org, and then the mynate link. And that's going to bring them to this screen. Instead of logging in, they're going to come here to online testing, and then it's going to ask you for your proctor number. That's the 9-digit number that looks like a social, and then the 4-digit online session ID. Okay, so once you've put in that information, now this is the part where the candidate will log in. If they have taken a NATE exam before online, or if they've taken a paper exam and they've created a mynate login, they'll be able to log in at this point, just right over here on the right-hand side of the screen. If they have not tested yet, they'll want come over here to the left-hand side of the screen and create that MyNate login. So it's going to give them a few different options. So if they've tested with Nate before but just have not created a MyNate login before, they'll want this center option here, and chances are this is going to be the most common, that they are a Nate technician and they have a Nate ID and PIN. And it's very important if they already have a record that this is what they do. Otherwise, a second record will be created for them. So if something happens along the lines of they took a core exam on paper and they have a Nate ID PIN, never created a MyNate login, and then they create a brand new login, those two records are going to be separate. Nate's going to think they're two different people, and then we'll have to merge the records later, and that's going to delay them getting their certification. So if they have their Nate ID and PIN with them, you want to make sure that they come here, put in that information, and then create a MyNate login that's associated with it. Over here would be for anybody who's not taken a Nate test before. I am a new user. They click Create MyNate Login. They just follow the steps there to create a new candidate record. And they'll be able to fill in all their information, demographics, address, everything like that. We have one set up for today, so I'm going to go ahead and just select this one as if I had clicked that by mistake. And it's just going to bring me right back here. All right. So once the candidate's logged in, they're going to see a page like this. Their online testing information will be here with their proctor name, all of that, and then their own personal information is going to be down here. And they can always verify to make sure that this information is still correct. So if they log in, notice that, hey, that's not my address anymore, they can click here and edit that. So once they verify their information is correct, they're ready to start taking the exam. And to take that exam, they're just going to come right over here to Actions, Take New Exam. And then they're going to have an option of all the different Nate exams they can choose from. Now, it's very important that they notice the distinction between installation and service and make sure that they're selecting the correct exam type. If it turns out that they have started the incorrect exam, you can just have them exit out of this and contact Nate, and we can remove that exam from your session. So once they know what exam they want to take, they just click the little button next to it, click Continue. And it's going to give them some information about that session. There is no time limit built into the system. It is up to the proctor to enforce the time limit. So that's why the system says no limit here. The system's never going to lock you out. So if you had some problem with a slow connection, it's taking 5 minutes in between clicking Continue for them to get to the next question, something along those lines, it never penalizes the candidate. And this is what the candidates are going to see when they start the exam. So they're going to have, over here, they can see where they are in the exam, how many questions they have left. If they decide that they want to come back to this question after they've answered it, they can always check this box here and mark that question to review later. When they get to the end of the exam, these are going to be separated out, and they can review just those questions that have been marked. Once they select an answer, they just have to click Save here. That's going to save their selection and move them on to the next question. These buttons over here, Previous and Next, those are just for moving through the exam, navigating the exam. They don't actually change their answers, so those are just if they want to go back 2 questions, forward 2 questions, without changing anything, that's what those buttons are there for. If they decide they want to send Nate a comment about this particular question, they feel it's wrong, they want to compliment us on it, anything they want to do with the question, they can click Comments here, and it's going to open up a new window where they can leave a comment and submit it to Nate. And our technical committee reviews those and can incorporate those comments into the question. Also, any formulas, charts, diagrams will be available up here. The formula sheet and the TP chart are available on any question. Again, they just click it, a new box opens where they can see that information, and then they can just go ahead and close the box. And they can also manipulate that box, minimize it, shrink it, keep it open, slide it over to another screen if they have one, anything along those lines. And the same is true for the temperature pressure chart. And if the question requires a diagram, there will be a third link there for the diagram for the question. All right. And instead of sitting here and going through the entire exam, I'm just going to go ahead and exit. When the candidate does get to the end of the exam, there will be a Grade Exam button for them to click once they've answered every question and have gone over every question they've marked for review. And once they are done with that session, they'll bring them back to that screen where we started, or they can select either to take another exam or exit out of the session. So once your candidate is complete with all of their exams and everybody in that session has completed their exams, you will want to log in as a proctor once more. Come here to the Proctor tab, back to online testing. This is where you'll see that table of all of our previous exams that we've given under this proctor record. So to pick this particular session, you just want to click on the site ID number, and it'll pull up that session, and you'll be able to see any information about the candidate that was in your session, name, when they started the exam, when they ended the exam, and if they've signed the third-party release form, it'll also let you know here if they passed or failed. However, if you do not sign that third-party release form or edit their record to allow the results to be released to a third party, it's going to say not released here. So once you've reviewed this information, it's all correct. There's nobody else that needs to test under this particular session. You'll want to close out the session. And here's where you could leave any comments that you would like. For example, if the power were to go out or your internet connection were to go out for 10, 15 minutes, you can put a comment in here. We lost power for 15 minutes. That's why the exam seems like it was 15 minutes longer than it was. Anything along those lines. And then click Close. And now the session has been closed, and it will be submitted to our exam administrator for processing. Candidates will get the results right away. Once they grade the exam, it'll let them know if they've passed or failed. Once the session has been closed, within 5 business days, their certification status will update on the website, and shortly thereafter, their actual physical certificate will get mailed out to them. And so for the candidates to check on the results after they've tested, again, they'll come here to My8 login, and they'll be able to use their same candidate login that they set up when they took the exam. So once they log in here, they'll want to go to their Technician tab, and they'll have their results here. They'll go to Exams and Grades, and this is going to show them where their exams are and the results of those exams. And then once it has gone through its final processing, under the Certifications tab, this is where it will list all their certifications. And this is also where they would go further into their certification to view any continuing education hours that they've taken. Okay. And now everybody is unmuted, so if you have any questions about online testing, you can feel free to ask us now.
I have a question.
Okay.
How can we obtain like an instruction guide, something printed that shows this? Obviously, it's a good orientation today, but if we do this a month from now, it's probably if you've never done it before, it's not going to be very easy, if you would. Okay.
Yeah, we do have guides available. So the first guide, which is creating that online session, under your Proctor tab, and then online testing, there's going to be a link right here, View Download Instructions, and that's going to give you a PDF with screenshots of that entire process we went through here, of how to create that session and how to get it ready to go. And then there's a second set of instructions on the online testing tab here. So when nobody's logged in, you go to online testing to start the exam. And these would be the directions for the candidates actually taking the exam. And this is going to show them how to get into that session, what to do to start the session, picking exams, taking the exam, and grading the exam, and then either choosing to take another exam or finishing the session.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, and this is also available on natex.org.
I have a question. How do you stop a candidate from taking extra tests?
That is up to the proctor. So when you're there, you just have to make sure that the candidate does click Finish Session rather than starting a new exam. They should check with you as soon as they finish that exam.
Okay. Well, the problem is that if a candidate, let's say, I've had this happen already where a candidate fails the test and just goes right in and takes another test. Do we have, what's the protocol there?
Okay. If you notice that a candidate has started another exam without your authorization, you can always have them exit out of the exam immediately, contact Nate, and we can remove that from your session.
Okay.
I have a question about disabilities.
Okay.
I work at a college, and we have a disability support office, and some of our students who are taking NATE exams have self-identified disabilities for which the reasonable accommodation is a little more time. If I put that in as the reason why we went beyond the normal session time, am I going to have an issue?
No, you will not.
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I'm in a kind of a different situation. I'm in a room where the phone is across the room a little bit, and I'm not able to sit at the computer and be on the phone. Mm-hmm. But my question is, and I believe it's related to what the other gentleman before the other person was saying, like I've never on my own proctored a NATE exam.
Okay.
And I'm totally really like unfamiliar with doing it. We're going to be having one in December, so I know that's the purpose of, I guess, this today.
Yeah.
You did say, is there, for what you're teaching today, is there like a full, it said in the email about this information will be able to be downloaded?
Yeah, so we do have 2 shorter guides that are available on different parts of the NATE website when you go to create the session, explaining how to create it, and then one prior to taking the session, which includes screenshots. And we're also going to be putting together a presentation based on our webinar here with this recording, and that'll be available on our website as well.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So now what you're doing now is basically going through the screens to show us, well, I'll just go through and take a look as you're doing this. It's just, this didn't really work out like it was supposed to, but that's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions?
Hello?
Yes?
I have a question.
Okay.
How long between testing sessions do they have to wait if they failed before they can retake it?
Okay. Nate generally recommends they take a 30-day study period, as we typically don't see very much improvement if candidates retake the exam repeatedly without changing anything in between attempts. However, there is no fixed time limit. They can retest whenever they feel ready. But again, Nate recommends taking 30 days.
Can they just log back in and take it?
Yes, the current online system does not prevent them from retaking an exam that they have failed. So if they want to try again right away, they are able to. Again, Nate would recommend against it, as we don't see much improvement between attempts like that.
Right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Okay. Good. Me then.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I have a question on Spanish language. I know there is currently no Spanish language version of the test, and what is the proper procedure to follow if I have a candidate that doesn't do so well reading and writing, English, and their native language is Spanish? I mean, they speak it okay, but they may not read it or write it very well. Is there any official policy on that? I mean, is it just like tough, can't do it, or what's the deal with that?
No, we do have a form, bringing it up here on the screen here, from natex.org, here in the document library. Under technician, there's a request for a non-standard test accommodation. So they can complete this form, send it into Nate, we can approve it, and then we'll send it back to you as the testing organization. Typically, this form is used for ADA concerns, but wanting a translator, you can use the same form as it'll be a non-standard test accommodation. And then they can take it with someone there to translate for them. Our only requirement is that person translating can't be involved in the industry themselves, so they won't be able to, help them with the exam. They can just translate it.
Okay, so if it's like somebody, usually when this has come up, and I didn't know about this procedure, and it was like somebody's sister or somebody else that, they were younger and they grew up speaking English, so they could translate it freely, and that's what they wanted to do. But since I did not have any official statement on that, I didn't allow it. So,
okay.
Yeah. So that's how long does that process take to work through? Do you know?
Typically, it is a very quick turnaround. I mean, we don't get a whole lot of these forms, so there's generally not a backup, so we can get that process.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often, but just occasionally. It's usually somebody who mainly does just installation, and they don't speak English very well to begin with, and but they know what they're, they know the job, but it's like it's it's really tough for them to handle they can speak English, but they just can't read it or write it very well.
Okay.
They can recognize certain things, but that's what I've run into, and it's happened about 4 times to me. So I was wondering. Okay.
Yeah. And I can take this opportunity to let you know that Nate has been working on a Spanish translation version of our exams, and that Spanish translation should be available sometime early next year.
Oh, that'd be great. Okay, yeah, I didn't have anything on that officially before yet, so they said, well, I was not able to tell them. Thank you. So that'd be early next year, you said, or?
Yes, early next year.
Sounds good. Okay, thank you very much.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi. I have a question. Can somebody not, if they feel that they know enough to bypass taking the core exam, can they just take the other two? There's 2 other tests, right?
To become certified, they do need to take that core exam and then a specialty exam. However, there is no bypass or credit given for the core exam other than taking and passing that exam.
So everybody must take the core test?
That's correct. However, they do only need to take that core test once. So if they take and pass the core exam, they can continue to add specialties to that. And as long as they do not let their certification expire, they do not need to retake that core. They only need to do it the one time.
Okay. And if I'm correct, the core test cost is $175?
No. So the core test and the specialty exams have the same charge. So depending on your organization's pricing structure, it'll be $120 per exam or $100 exam for our educational and platinum partners.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
One other question on that core thing. I have somebody who let their certification just recently expired, and they brought me a letter, and it said that if they took it within 2 months, that they didn't have to retake the core again. But I have seen no official documentation anywhere on Nate's website on that, unless you just recently put it on there.
Okay. Yeah, there is a 60-day grace period that we allow technicians after they expire, where they can still either submit their continuing education documentation to us and renew, or retake the specialty exam without taking the core. It is should be available on description of that in the testing and training organization guidelines. As well as,
I was looking through that, and I didn't see it. It just said that if it was expired, you couldn't do it, and that was so. Like I said, I was looking for that, and I had them bring me the copy of the letter so I could see it.
Yeah.
And it was there, so I was like, okay.
All right. Yeah, that is an official NAEP policy. We try not to promote it too heavily on the website, particularly in the technician portion, as we don't want people.
You want them to renew when they renew. Yeah, I understand. Okay, I just needed to know for myself if it was that official policy or not. All right. Thank you very much.
We're going to address some of the questions that come up on screen now.
Okay. So a question we have here, how about Spanish online testing? The online version of the Spanish translation should also be available, so that's going to be available both paper and online. We also had a question, is there a Proctor script for the online testing similar to the paper testing? And there is not. The prompts on the screen can kind of work as your script, but there is an official script like you have to read for the paper exam where you're giving them instructions on how to fill out the answer card and so forth.
We also have a question from Jim Cohn regarding the training versus testing requirements. As it stands now, there are rules regarding whether or not an individual who serves as a trainer can also serve as a proctor to the same individuals that he or she has trained. As of right now, one cannot serve in that same role. You cannot train an individual and then proctor that same individual for the exam. That is the current policy as part of our efforts in pursuing third-party accreditation. But if those policies change in the near future, Nate will inform everyone exactly.
Okay, we got a question from Jeff. Is the new core and heat pump exam ready? He took the beta versions of those, and those have not been completed yet. They are very near the process of starting that passing score study, getting a passing score established, and then you'll get the results on those. We're looking at early to mid-November to be the release date of those results, and then the new exam should launch sometime soon after that.
Qualify which tests are being...
Oh, the beta exams, there is a new core. It's a merged core. So instead of having a core installation and a core service, there's going to be a single core exam. And the other ones being beta tested are new versions of the AC service and AC install, heat pump service, heat pump install, gas furnace service, gas furnace install, oil furnace service, oil furnace install, and air distribution service and air distribution install. All right, and we just wanted to mention one more time, when signing in to take those exams, it's very important that the candidates, if they have an established record with NATE, that they either use their NATE ID number and PIN to create that MyNATE login, or use their MyNATE username and password to make sure everything's kept on the same record. A lot of the complaints we get from technicians about not getting the results, that's the number one reason, is because they end up with 2 records in our system. Okay, got a question about where to get study material for the exams. NATE itself does not produce any study manuals, study guides, that sort of thing. The thing that NATE produces is here on our website at natex.org under the Technicians tab, what tests to take /CATES, and these are going to be all the different CATES we have for each exam. And these are going to go over the topics covered by that exam, as well as the industry references here that were used to create that exam. There are third-party materials available. If you come over here to Resource Center and then Training Resources. And these materials here are going to be links to those different third-party organizations where you'd be able to order those books. So such as the RSCS, the Yellow Study Books, ACCA has study books, HVAC Learning Solutions, and so forth all have their study material with links to their online stores available off this website. Are there any other questions?
With that, we will close today's webinar. We want to thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us. As Tony mentioned, we will be uploading a copy of the recording for today's webinar, as well as a brief PowerPoint to accompany it. And as always, if you have any questions before hosting an exam, feel free to give us a call, and Nate will be happy to help you.
Thank you. Okay. Looks like we had one more question. I'll get that answered here. What's an easy way to recover a NATE ID number? The simplest way, if they do not have any of their information, is to contact us here at the NATE office, and we can look that up for them. Generally, we recommend giving us a call prior to coming in and taking the exam. That way, plenty of time for us to get back to them. However, if they find that they do not, they have their PIN number maybe, and they can't find their NATE ID, we do have an option here under Candidate Technician. Look up your NATE ID, where they can put in that 6-digit PIN number they created, their last name, and their zip code, and then click Find NATE ID Number, and that'll pull it up for them.
Great. All right. Well, again, thank you. We'll close today's event, and we will be sending out communications when we have the next event scheduled. Again, thank you for joining us today. Have a good day.
All right, thank you.
Wanting a translator.